All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our next math lesson. Lesson 2.2, thousands, 2000ths. Remember, whenever we're talking about decimal numbers, those are always going to end in THS, all right? So please write down the I can statement. I can read, write, and model numbers from thousands to thousandths. I did notice as looking through some of your math notebooks today that we're missing some I can statements and some of the other stuff, including the lesson headings. Lesson 2.2 should be at the top of your page. So you really want to get that corrected before I collect these again for another grade. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at place value. And what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about symmetry around the ones place. Okay, so let's take a look at this place value chart that we have down here at the bottom. Now imagine if I drew this dashed line down the middle and I could fold that. And I want you to think back to lines of symmetry. As you recall, when we did lines of symmetry, they're the lines where we can draw them through a shape and fold them up so both of those halves match, okay? So I want you to think about that when we look at our place value chart. If we use the ones place as our line of symmetry, you'll see I have tens, tenths, hundreds, hundredths, thousands, thousands. And we could keep going out to 10,000s, 10,000s, okay? But what you want to know is you can see the colors here are matched the same. So we need to understand that when we talk about the ones on either side of those place values start with the same words, okay? And as we move to the left-hand side, they get 10 times larger, okay? So tens are 10 times bigger than ones, hundreds are 10 times bigger than tens, and so forth. If we move to the other side, they get 10 times smaller, or we divide by 10, okay? So if I divide a $1 bill into 10 equal parts, that becomes dimes. If I divide a dime into 10 equal parts, that becomes pennies, and so on. Tenth of a penny, we talked about that last time, okay? So we're going to talk about reading and writing decimal numbers. We talked a little bit about this in class today, but we're going to go through it a little bit more right now, okay? So when we take a look at this, and I did draw this up on the board, this just kind of gets your head wrapped around where the place values go, all right? So I've got the ones place, the tenths place, the hundredths place, and the thousands place. Now, when I look at this number, it's 6 and 500ths, okay? So that's how I read that number. This, ladies and gentlemen, is and. Got to remember that's and, okay? When we write numbers, it have to remember that that's and. So if I'm going to place that number in these blanks, we're going to put the 6 in the ones place and 0, 5. 0 tenths, because I don't have any, and 5 hundredths. Okay, let's do another one. Let's say I've got 3 and 3 tenths. Okay, 3 in the ones place, 3 in the tenths place. How about this one? 5 and 45 thousandths. Okay, that's 3 places out. That 5 ends in the thousandths place. That's how we read that. Where that digit ends, that's the name of the place value. Okay. So we put 5 and 0 tenths because there aren't any, 4 hundredths, and 5 thousandths. Try to read this one right now on your own. Can you figure out where it goes? Can you read it? 9 and 786 thousandths. Okay? So 9 ones, 7 tenths, 8 hundredths, 6 thousandths. All right, so now we're going to look at representing numbers in different ways. And I know you looked at this when you did your pre-test too. Okay, but in our place value system, numbers can be expressed in different ways. For example, 4 different ways to represent the number 35 and 26 thousandths are shown below. Well, I'm not Willis, but I'm glad you asked, okay? The first thing I would tell you to do is you are going to want to write down these examples here. So write this down, okay? Standard form, and I would write the original number up at the top. So up in here somewhere, write 35 and 26 thousandths. Standard form, write it out. Word form, write it out. Expanded form, write it out. Expanded form in powers of 10, write it out, okay? And you can do this as decimals or fractions, and you're going to see it both ways as we work through it today. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and just do it just the way that they've modeled there. All right? So let's go down here at the bottom. So we have to write 12,402 in word form. And when we do that, that looks like that. Now, the thing I want to draw your attention to is you will notice whenever we say the name of the family, and you may have learned this in 4th grade, that's where the comma comes in. So if we said 12,300,422, that's where that comma comes in. So here we have a comma after the 12,000. Same thing in word form. We need to remember that. That's where we separate our place value families, okay? So 12,000, the comma stays in the same place. If we do that in expanded form, we just break down each digit by its value. So there's 1 in the 10,000s place, so that's 10,000. 2 in the thousands place, that's 2,000. 4 in the hundreds place, that's 400. There aren't any 10s, so I don't need to put a 0 or anything there because there just aren't any. That doesn't have any value, okay? So we add 2 1s and we're done with that. Let's look at the expanded form in powers of 10, okay? You'll see that we've got 1 times 10,000 plus 2 times 1,000 plus 4 times 100 plus 2 times 1. You will notice, ladies and gentlemen, that every single one of the second numbers in these parentheses has a 1 at the beginning. The number that you multiply is the number that's going to be the first number you see in this. So you're always going to have the big number up in front here when you're multiplying place values. So this would not be 1 times 2,000. That would be incorrect. It has to be 2 times 1,000 because that's the value of that place value. Okay. If you have questions about that, we can talk in class some more. Okay. So here we've got 8 and 305 thousandths. You see the and there, that tells me we're talking about a decimal number, okay? So in standard form, that's what that looks like, 8 and 305 thousandths. In expanded form, I've got 8 plus 3 tenths plus 5 thousandths. Again, I don't have any hundred sets, so I don't have to put anything down there, okay? In expanded form's power of 10, that'd be 8 times 1 plus 3 times 1/10, and you could put that as 0 with a decimal point of 1, plus 5 times 1,000th. Okay, and you could do that as 0.001 if you wanted to. All right, last one down here that we're going to look at, standard form. Okay, so we've got 70 plus 2 plus 4 tenths plus 3 hundredths. So when I put all that together, it looks like 72 and 43 hundredths. Expanded form, power of tens, 7 times 10, 2 times 1. You can read the rest of that. And then in word form, 72 and 43 hundredths. Okay? You're going to want to be thinking about that because you are going to have to be proficient in that as we continue to move through this unit. All right. I'm giving you some sample problems because tomorrow in your seat work, you're going to have to compare 3 different decimal numbers. 2 of them will be the same, and one of them is going to need to go. It's kind of like that game on Sesame Street. When I was a kid, which one of these pictures does not belong with the other one? Well, one of these numbers does not belong, okay? Now, for me, I have always found the easiest way to do is to stack these numbers on top of each other, lining them up with the decimal point. So that would look like this. We'll line these 3 numbers up. Now here I see I have 4 and 7 hundredths. Here I also have 4 and 7 hundredths because as we talked about in class today, I can write zeros all the way across this page, the next page, until I reach the moon. This still has the same value. Here I've got a 7 in the tenths place, okay? So that's a bigger number. This is $4.07, $4.70 if you want to think about it like money. So the last one does not belong there. Let's look at our next grouping here. So again, I'm going to stack those up by the decimal point. You can see when I do that, they're the same here, the same here, the same here, up, but they're not the same here. Okay? So this top number has a different value than these two do as well. And remember, we did talk about, too, if you're ever confused, you can always just take and stick a 0 at the end of this number down here. Okay, now they look identical to one another, and we can see that those two equal each other. So if we keep going, you can see that that one does not belong. All right? The other thing you're going to need to know is how to do mixed numbers as decimal. We've practiced just the fraction portions today, which you guys rocked out the house. So I'm ready for us to move on to the next portion. Okay, so we've got 76 and, there's that decimal point. So we're going to put 76 in the decimal point, 76 and 2,000. So when we do that, it's going to look like that. Okay, 76 and, because remember 76 is a whole number, so it's going to stand to the left of the decimal point, 2,000ths. Here I've got 134 and 7,800 hundredths. And when I do that, it's going to look like that. Okay. All right. Here are some sample problems that I'm going to have you work through as we go through this together. Whoops. I lost the page. Forgive me. Sorry. It's coming back. Hey, there it is. This should say practice problems, not sample problems. Here, I'm doing really good with like messing stuff up in these presentations lately, aren't they? No, 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 no. Practice, okay? You know what's going on here, okay? I'm not going to write this out. It looks like it's been done by a 3-year-old with crayons. So I'm going to stop there. These should be your practice problems, okay? So I need you to write the decimal number for each word name for 1 through 3. Just write down the number. And I need you to write each amount here as a decimal number. It should be pretty straightforward. Again, sorry about the oopsies. I'll try and get better at that. Have a great night.